Hi, I'm Sade. Welcome to Coffee Bookshelves. Today we are talking about this book, Goddess Crown by Sade Lapite. I recently did some promo for some events for this book, so I thought, you know what, I should probably do a video about my first novel, the YA fantasy adventure, Goddess Crown. Oh, I've got the North American cover here as well. Hardcover, softcover. So it's a YA adventure for teens, sort of 13 to 17, and it is about a young woman, a 16-year-old girl called Kalothia, who's been raised in very secluded circumstances in a forest by a handful of guardians, and she's never met her parents. She knows that her life is very strange and unusual, but the people who are around her, although they love her and care for her, will not tell her the truth. So she's surrounded by all these secrets. One day, mercenaries attack her home and she's forced to go on the run. And while she's on the run, she starts searching for answers to the questions that she's had. Who are her parents? Where are they? Who is trying to kill her? And who is she? So she finds out she's heir to the throne. That takes her to the royal court. There's a whole heap of drama there. And it's just this sort of swashbuckling adventure story with court intrigue and romance and some very awesome outfits. I also thought I'll answer some of the questions that came up when I did some events with teens in the UK in some schools that I visited. So I thought I'll take maybe 5 or 6 questions from those events and answer them here. Question 1, what was the inspiration for the book? National Novel Writing Month happens every November. You have to write a 50,000 word novel in 30 days. And the idea being you have to get out of your own head and just get some ideas down and not overthink it. I thought I need a really strong premise for this book in order to write sort of 1,700 words every day. And I'd watched the film Elizabeth, The Golden Age, and really enjoyed it, about Queen Elizabeth I, and thought, gosh, what if you had a kingly father who'd had your mother executed? What would that child come out like? And then what if, there were a bunch of people that also wanted to kill the child? Like, what would that journey be like? And that was basically the idea that I had, and I wrote the first draft of the book. And then over time, when I kept on fiddling with it, after the writing challenge had finished, kept on going back to it, making changes, because I really enjoyed the central character and just liked putting her in different situations. And the story went from being about sort of this white girl in ye old historical England to a black girl in a fantasy West Africa. That was the inspiration. How did you go about building the world? So I think that I really wanted to tap into West African culture and history for it. And I didn't grow up in West Africa. My parents are from Nigeria. I grew up in the UK. And so there were things that I knew and tons of things that I didn't know. So I sort of had to think back to family vacations to Nigeria and, thought about the clothes and the weather and the food and just the atmosphere, but also did a lot of research about different eras in West African history and pulled from that as well. So I would think about, well, what kind of architecture do I want? And then what kind of building materials do I want to use? What kind of currency are they using? How is the government set up? How do lines of succession work? And so all of these things, and I just kind of picked away and took what I wanted and created a sort of gumbo, and that was the world that I created. It was a lot of fun, and it was really nice actually to read about things and think, ooh, I'll take that. I'd like other people to know about this thing, and I'll put it into the book as well. Why a patriarchal world? I think that's such an interesting question, because when you're writing fantasy, you can create any kind of world. You can do anything. Why would you create a world where men have more power than women, and women's lives are limited by some of the rules I created? Things like women are not allowed to read and write, they're not allowed to inherit, they're not allowed to have positions of power. Why create a world like that? And I think I wanted to do that because I like talking about sexism and prejudice and how patriarchy affects all of us. I think that the ways that women's lives are limited can become very normalized, and I wanted to shine a spotlight on it, pull it apart and think about it, and then also give a woman all the power in the country and see how everybody reacted to that. What was your path to publication? After I'd written like a million drafts of it, I took a year off from work, and during that year I saw an advert for a writing retreat where you got to go away to this sort of stately house for a long weekend and meet other writers and go to workshops and do very cool things. And so I applied for a place on that retreat, and one of the judges helping to decide who would win that sponsored place was an agency, a literary agency. And so I won the place and I went on the retreat, and it was amazing. And afterwards, the agency said, we really liked the first 3 chapters of your book that we've read that you had to submit. And once it's finished, we'd really like you to send us the whole thing so we can read it. So once I finished the retreat, I sort of scrapped a ton of what I'd written already because I thought I can do way better than this. This could be so much better. And so sort of every 3 to 6 months, the agency would write to me and be like, how's it going? Have you got a full draft for us yet? And I would be like, no, not yet, but it's coming. And so eventually I did have a whole draft, and I sent it to them, and they liked it, and they offered to represent me, and that's how I got my agent. And then we worked together for, say, like another year on improving and polishing the book, and then sent it out to editors, and basically got the 2-book deal with Walker Books UK, which was very cool. Do you have any tips for writers? I do. I feel like my number 1 tip is to write what you want. Writing is a bit thankless in that, you know, if you try to bend yourself into a pretzel and write what other people want, they might not like it anyway. I feel like the only person you can really write for is yourself. So write what you want, write a little bit every day or frequently, so you don't get out of the habit of it. I think it helps to share your writing with a group. It builds your confidence. It also makes you learn from other people's work, and you don't become too precious about your own work. You learn to take feedback. If you are interested in getting published, my big piece of advice is just send it out. No one is going to call you or knock at your door and be like, you sent me this manuscript and it's rubbish. How could you? No one's ever going to say that. So send your work out. Be confident. Just send it out. What's the worst that could happen? You don't hear back. Just do it. So that's it. Goddess Crown is out in the world. I love it. This is the best cover ever. So if you see it in a bookshop near you or in a library, pick it up and read it. It's really good fun. Goddess Crown by Lapite.